Attention listeners, ahead are spoilers.
Hello and greetings, and welcome to the Movie Trap. My name is Russell Carlson, and with me is my friend and co-host, Chris Boroff.
I totally drew a blank on what line I was gonna say. I'm just gonna say rub mud on my ass. That's all I can remember right now.
Good job. And to my probably more prepared friend and co-host, Zach Powers.
I don't care if you're bow-legged, and I don't care if you're bilingual.
I mean, I assume so. I mean, she's got kind of a big nose. Anyway, welcome to the Movie Trap. On the Movie Trap, one of the three hosts that you just met picks a theme, and then each of us picks a movie based around that theme. Once we're done with watching all the movies, we then vote with an allocated amount of points that each of us get. And then once we're done watching all three movies, we then vote. And then whoever's movies wins the theme, wins the vote, that host gets to pick the next theme. And that's where we're at today, because it is movie number one for Zach Powers' theme of Dog Days of Summer, Heat Wave, and he has chosen 2001's comedy classic, Wet Hot American Summer. We can call it a classic now. It's over 20
That's
years.
a cult classic.
Fair enough. I mean, they had two spinoffs. I mean, but still, that doesn't. Anyway,
Your parents ain't watching Wet Hot American Summer.
I doubt it. I mean, but still, every generation has this kind of movie. We'll get into that later. So before we get on our last day of camp here and remember the fine summer that we all had, let me just remind everybody of the points of how this is going to work. Each of us, as I said at the beginning, gets 10 points for final voting, but each of us gets 3 bonus points to give out for whatever reason we want. So that's where we're all at. All chambers are loaded. We're ready to go. All right, Zach, let's rock and roll and just traipse us along the last day of camp for Wet Hot American Summer.
Yeah, the last day of camp, and it's an appropriate time. We are recording this on August the 14th. I think it's supposed to come out a week from today, maybe, something like that, next weekend. So in between when we record this and when it releases is actual Wet Hot American Summer Day, August 17th. So very appropriate time to record. Wet Hot American Summer is a comedy film directed by David Wayne. It stars some of his longtime collaborators like Michael Ian Black and Michael Showalter, and even including them, a lot of people who were, in many regards, before they were famous. A few were already pretty well known. You got kind of a murderer's row here. You got
For sure.
Janine Garofalo, David Hyde Pierce, you got Molly Shannon, you got Christopher Maloney, and then the people who were not particularly famous when this came out, you got Paul Rudd, you got Amy Poehler, you got Bradley Cooper showing up, as well as, Ken Marino and a few others.
Yeah, it was a lot of members of the state, right?
A lot of state members, and then a few sort of more established people like David Hyde Pierce or Janine Garofalo. I feel like was pretty well done. Christopher Maloney, I think, had a bit of a career at this point.
Paul Rudd had a Clueless moment.
He had Clueless, but that was
a little bit of cachet. But that was about
between Clueless and Halloween 5. That was about his filmography.
Yeah. Your cut rate, Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
I think Maroney was just coming off of Oz on this, right? I think Oz had been his most recent.
I think it had just wrapped up.
Yeah, and he was known as a really intense
yeah.
actor from that, so that kind of played into this.
And he's great in this,
fantastic.
basically everybody is great in this, if I may say
Pretty
so.
much, 1,000% agree.
So, Wet Hot American Summer tells the story of a summer camp in Maine in 1981. It's sort of, I would say, implied to be a Jewish summer camp. Jewish summer camps are if you don't know, a pretty big tradition among Jewish families in the United States. And it's the final day of camp, the day where you have to realize your destiny, because this is it. This is it before you go home for the entire year. It mostly focuses on the camp counselors. And it has a bit of a block comedy vibe in that there are a bunch of sort of semi-interconnecting, but not totally interconnecting storylines. The main focus is on Michael Showalter as Coop and Marguerite Moreau as Katie. Coop has had a crush on Katie for a long time, many, many years, and it's his final day to try and finally make it happen, even though she's dating major asshole Andy, Paul Rudd, who is just one of the best stupid douchebags in film history.
Smile if you can. It's just like this, it's just what you. It's so classic. It's great.
Yeah, Andy is a complete asshole, but he's Paul Rudd, so he's pretty hot. And she's overlooked nice guy Coop for not nice guy in the 20th century sense as much. Nice guy, genuinely kind of pretty nice guy Coop for a long time. So he spends his day pining over her. They make a few connections over the course of the day. But ultimately, it comes to naught. Coop, despite sort of connecting with her, and I'm going to go over this in storylines instead of
Sure. Because it kind of jumps all over the place as far as what's happening, but
yeah, it progresses chronologically sort of through the day,
right,
jumping between storylines.
Sure. It's kind of more appropriate to look at like each of these are like sketches, and they kind of jump in between each other.
Yeah,
There's
feels
no real
like
rhyme or reason to it. They even famously sort of called no to it, And anyway, sorry, Zach.
Yeah, it's structured kind of like a Herald sketch or something like that. Like it does that thing where they go through and they do callbacks and they do the whole thing for each of the members of the ensemble.
But Coop, despite kind of spending a lot of time with Katie during the day, because Andy is largely distracted by unmentioned pre-fame Elizabeth Banks as Lindsay, who... you get the impression Andy cheats on Katie pretty regularly with anybody he can because, again, he's a huge asshole. Coop starts to connect with Katie over this rift. Ultimately, it seems like it's not going to work out. She says she thinks him as a friend. She's just trying to connect him with somebody else. But after a coaching lesson with Camp Chef Gene, who we'll talk about a little more later, he becomes a bona fide cool dude. And at the end of the night, it seems like she actually chooses him over Andy. Though the next day, she decides that she's 16 and she's not really ready for a serious relationship. She just wants to have sex. And Andy's hot. And she kind of just wants to bone. So he goes home a little disappointed. Meanwhile, camp director Beth... He learned something. Camp director Beth has a crush on a man who lives next door to the summer camp, Professor Henry Newman, who is played by David Hyde Pierce, an astrophysicist who works at a nearby college. She has also been waiting to act on her romantic feelings towards him all summer, and invites him to teach some of the nerdy, out indoor kids for the last day of camp. And he does so, forming a bond with those kids. As he teaches them basically heliocentricity. He teaches them the sun revolves around the earth. Very basic concepts. But they also learn each other's interests over the course of the day and try to form a deeper connection. But alas, they find midway through the day that a renegade piece of Skylab is coming down and heading for the main hall where the big talent show is going to be taking place that night. But through an invention that they have come up with, potentially they can redirect its route slightly and avoid a tragedy on the scale of the Hindenburg. At the end of the day, Henry and Beth realize they care deeply for each other, and by the time they go home, they are expecting a child.
This did you mention that they have separated? This is all one day too. It's like the clock shows up occasionally to remind you it's still the same day, just an hour apart.
Roughly 24 hours is the time frame. Camp cook Gene is suffering from deep post-traumatic stress disorder. He is serving the food to the kids, but also occasionally unintentionally admits weird sexual fetishes out loud, which he shamefully tries to cover up, having, gone through hell in Vietnam. He has a lot of baggage and eventually befriends a can of vegetables played by H. John Benjamin, who tries to tell him that it's okay to be who you really are. And by the end of the day, he's internalized this message and openly tells the entire camp that, yes, indeed, he plans to go hump the refrigerator and leaves the next day with a woman heretofore previously unseen, but in far better state of mental health. Meanwhile, you've got Ken Marino playing Victor Pulack and his friend Joe Latriglio from Brooklyn Nine-Nine as Neil. They're taking the kids on one last trip down the rapids before the end of summer. But Ken Marino has been propositioned by a young woman, Abby Bernstein, who is notorious for being very
polyamorous,
sort of
shall we
polyamorous.
say.
Yeah, she's very much into whoever.
She's playing a stereotype here of a
Right.
wanton, wayward lady.
Yeah,
Pretty much
And
anyone who's in front of her.
exactly. So she says if he can come back from the rapids early, they're not supposed to come back till the next morning, then they can hook up. And despite acting like a big man on campus, Victor is actually a virgin and desperate to lose his virginity. So he bails on the rapids trip early to try and get back to Abby. But he is the only one who can navigate the deadly falls. So Neil chases after him in order to save the kids.
Leaving the kids in the raft.
Leaving the kids in the raft. Unfortunately, Victor crashes the van for no reason. He just crashes it for no reason. And upon making it back to camp, where Beth and Gary, A.D. Miles, have been searching fervently for him, he also finds that Abby has moved on to just one of the kids in the camp. And after being snapped out of his lustful haze, heads back to, I think they're called Dead Man's Falls, and saves the boatload of children at the last minute from going over the deadly waterfall. Meanwhile, who else do we got on the lineup? Michael Ian Black as
Michael
McKinley.
Ian Black, and then you've got the theater
And-
troupe. Yeah.
Yep, and McKinley and Ben, played by Bradley Cooper. it turns out, are a gay couple living in the closet. And their other friends, 80 Miles is Gary, previously mentioned, and what's that? Oh, go ahead. Yeah, all right. And I can't remember Zach Orth as JJ, have been left out of the loop on the fact that these two are in fact in a gay relationship. They have not outed themselves to those two yet, and they discover that they are getting married in a clandestine marriage in the woods. Those two being huge horn dogs who perv on all of the women at camp and their chicken wings and what forth. And upon discovering that their friends are gay, they decide to act on that action. And a few hours later, it's revealed that they have bought them a chaise lounge for their wedding.
From Crate and Barrel.
From Crate and Barrel. And indeed, the big talent show is going on where Amy Poehler as Susie and Ben are directing a bunch of kids in a performance of Godspell, but have no confidence in their ability to pull it off. They ultimately do a perfectly great performance, but everybody boos it at the end. The talent show is run by Alan Shemper, a elderly man played by Michael Showalter, who makes a bunch of jokes about being very old. There's also a very odd camper who plays with rubber chickens as guns, who maybe redirects the wind, who possibly is the reason why Skylab didn't hit the camp. It's unclear. And mixed in with all of this are a few other shenanigans. A bunch of the campers. There's also, I should mention briefly, Molly Shannon is Gail.
Molly Shannon, yeah.
Yeah, who is getting over her ex-husband, Ronald, who is played by Judah Friedlander from 30 Rock. She's having a really tough time with the fact that her marriage has failed, and a young camper in her class, as well as all the other campers, give her a lot of sound advice about moving on and moving forward. And at the end of the day, she is in a relationship with one of her 12 or so year old campers.
Jesus.
And additionally, there's a few other shenanigans. There's a camper who is an announcer he serves as narrator for the day. He hasn't taken a shower all summer. He's voiced by Sam Levinson from Freaks and Geeks, but is not played by him in person, oddly. They force him to take a shower at some point. There's a trip into town that is a whole adventure of drugs and alcohol. I'm sure I'm forgetting. Oh, there's a side story with a big climactic baseball game that is a little too cliche, so they decide not to do it. And it's just an all-American summer camp on a day where destinies come to fruition and dreams are made. The last day of camp, the last gasp of summer. That is essentially the story of Wet Hot American Summer.
Yeah, considering the caliber of talent, had to be a fun shoot, right? I mean, just because,
Andy murders several children.
That's right. Yeah, to cover up because there's a buddy system on boating, right? When you lose one, well, I gotta get rid of the buddy, right?
He kills two kids out of neglect, and then takes their friends out in a van and just shoves them out of the side of the speeding van.
Too funny. That again, the caliber of the cast, you gotta think, and as I understand it, they basically shot this in a month, and they all just like stayed there at the summer camp.
If you look at
the
and you can see it in the film, but if you watch the behind the scenes, it was fucking freezing when they shot this.
Right,
often.
It rained and rained and rained.
And you'll see a lot of scenes where people's breath is very clear in the air. Yeah, it was kind of a rough shoot, but I think a fun one based on the behind the scenes.
That's what I'm saying. That's one like that they would remember, right? Especially since a lot of these people haven't quite reached the stardom that they're about to get to, namely like Amy Poehler and
so
Bradley
many
Cooper.
of them, like even Bradley Cooper did a little bit for like the reunion that came so much later. They did both a prequel that takes place on the first day of camp, and then one thing that happens is all the campers vow to meet up 10 years later.
Right.
And
where they have the very risible joke that like, well, look, we're going to be in our late 20s by then, knowing very well that they're right now in their late 20s.
Yeah, exactly. So there is also a sequel series on Netflix about the 10 years later reunion, where they agree to meet. They say they're going to meet at 11, but they'll call it 11:30 so that everybody can show up on time.
Right.
Yeah.
Are those sequels good?
There's they're
fine.
not.
I mean,
they're not as joke dense, but I think they're both enjoyable and they both have good qualities.
Right. I mean, it definitely dials the zany. It quadruples down on that a little bit. Like Michael Showalter plays Reagan in a very funny manner.
And it's also they play out like the first day of camp one, right? There's a lot of jokes about the fact that these people are 15 to 20 years older and playing a younger version of the same character.
Right.
They were already too old to play.
To be playing, yeah. That's the thing about this movie, right? Because like I remember when I first saw this movie, it was a long time ago. I think it was one of those like high school, like we'd rent a bunch of movies at like Blockbuster or whatever, and we'd get that. And like I remember I wasn't a big fan of it. I kind of didn't get it. It wasn't until we went to like a midnight showing in my first year of film school. That's when I got it. Once you get it with this film, what it's actually trying to do, it's pretty fucking funny. But it's because you're not sure if this is supposed to be like a parody of like these kinds of movies or if this is trying to be an earnest, funny sex comedy about kids or both. It's kind of it's a movie that's very much aware that it's a movie.
It feels that it feels to me like it's a spoof. Like at least it starts in a spoof territory and then kind of bounces from there. Because this is like so close to Meatballs. I can't really think of it without Meatballs coming into the picture with this one.
In many regards, the closest movie we've watched to this is Police Academy, and this is a billion times better than Police Academy. I will spill the beans real quick. This is, I'm gonna say, in my top 5 comedy films of all time. I fucking absolutely love this movie. Last summer on August 17th, we set up a big projector in the yard, and I invited a bunch of friends over and we watched Wet Hot American Summer on the day Wet Hot American Summer takes place. I watch it. This is one of like the watch once a year movies that I have.
I get it.
Yeah.
It's what, like I said, once you get it, it's hard to not keep going with the jokes. And that's where
it's ahead of its time. Like this is a kind of comedy that was, I think it pioneered a little bit.
Because
it was a financial and critical failure.
Sure. And but it didn't cost that much to make. I mean, this movie was didn't cost shit to make. It was very low budget. I think the rumor is Paul Rudd doesn't even sure if he actually got paid for this movie.
But I just want to be clear when I say that it cost $1.8 million to make, right?
Sure.
Which is very low,
Right. Oh yeah.
It made less than $300,000 in the United States.
Hilarious. I'm sure they've made that up now with the fucking licensing at this point.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the thing about like comedies like this. If it works, you might get that return a little later on. But when I think about like the closest contemporary of its time, like this came out in 2001. What is it? Like American Pie is probably like the big like sex comedy of that era. Around that time.
Yeah.
And I mean, like Wet Hot American Summer is almost as sex crazed and as sex fueled as Wet Hot American Summer is. I didn't feel like it was trying to be like gross or nasty in any sense of respect, like I felt like with the American Pie movies.
Yeah.
You know, like I or even the big champion of these movies, the Animal Houses and the shit like that. I think that this movie eats their lunch quite a bit.
And it's something that I think you can see like in the narrative of the film pretty clearly. Like, so with the McKinley and Ben storyline where it's revealed they're gay, and they even use the F word to like refer to them, like the two friends who you're primed to expect them to be these huge homophobic assholes who are going to like do something terrible to them. And the way that storyline resolves is they bought them a nice lounge for their wedding because they're like really supportive of them being gay. Like, it's, you know.
Well, it seems like this one's kind of like a metafictional, there's a little bit more to the joke. Like, they know that they're in a specific trope of a film. So most of the jokes are sort of yes-anding, like, yes, we know this is stupid, here's what we're going to do instead. So it sort of goes its own direction. It's kind of, to me, this one, it's obviously like an alt comedy film because all these people were involved in alt comedy. But it starts off on this trajectory, and then eventually you get into, like, you know, the Tim and Eric, where it's, like, becomes so abstract of, like, being aware that you're doing a bit within the moment, within the thing.
In the Netflix new shows, Borf, it abandons that pretense. It jumps right into the sort of craziness.
And
while
I think
still
that's
trying
a
to keep
response
it
to how comedy had evolved in the years
Sure.
between
Yeah.
then and now.
Sure. Well, and David Wayne himself, how they've evolved since Wet Hot American Summer. I mean,
Yeah.
like they've done lots of things in between that and still have. I mean,
And Showalter, it should be noted, co-wrote the script.
sure.
So,
And Showalter, for nothing, is a fine director of his own right. And a great performer too. I love his impression of the old Jewish, like, crappy comedian that you know that these guys saw, right, in their Jewish camps. They experienced something like this guy. Where
Catskill.
everybody is just
but the
laughing.
way I love Alan Shempers so much because not his jokes are corny as fuck, and everybody loves them. They go fucking gaga
kills
for
it, kills the room.
But he still keeps the jokes corny, but he gives it a delivery where the delivery is great enough. Like the way he says, I went to camp so long ago, it was the fucking Stone Age. My campmate was named Og. And we
Walked
used
around on all fours.
Well, I mean, it's like it's like vaudeville, Catskill, Jewish comedian. Yeah, there's
Right,
definitely
yeah.
something they would have seen. Yeah.
Right.
No, I misplaced it was my counselor was Jesus fucking Christ.
Man, I didn't even like watching this movie. Part of what you like about this movie is that watching it again, if you didn't like it the first time, if you've never seen it, watch it, and you didn't like it, give it a couple months and watch it again. And you'll find things that you're like, because like I totally forgot that their reaction to the, let's say, passable production of Godspell, it was a pretty good rendition of that song.
Yeah, it's
and the
not
crowd
like
reaction
Broadway,
is
but
immediately
still.
like, boo!
But the other thing is when they're performing it, everyone is entranced. Like they make a
Right.
point of showing the audience like absolutely loving it, digging it. As soon as it's over, boo!
But yeah, before we get, if we're just gonna keep talking about gush on, I do want to gush a little bit about Christopher Maloney. As
He's
Gene,
really great in this.
because
His big speech is so good.
I mean, the way he is so intense and committed that it is just funny. And he's worked with Wayne and Showalter later on too. He loves doing this kind of stuff. He likes to get his comedy chops out, and he's funny. I really think, and yeah,
And
dude,
Veep, like he went on to do stuff like he's
For
great
sure.
in Veep. Like he does comedy roles great. I think Christopher Maloney is really like he's a that guy for most people, but like whenever I see him show up, I'm like, well, this is going to be
you
a
guys
good
ever
time.
watch that Happy Show on Sci-Fi?
No,
I heard about it a
pretty-
lot. I haven't actually
kinda,
seen it.
It's kind of crazy, sort of with a kind of tinge of Gen X edgelordsness, but still, Christopher Maloney plays the lead, and he does it very well, and he's very funny in it.
and also I should note, this is a bit of a continuing thing. I have gone to I've done Halloweens where I dressed as a few
That's right, I
characters from
remember.
movies we've watched. One year I did do Daniel Plainview. I had a bloody bowling pin and like a little pipe and a hat, all the. And one year I was Gene from Wet Hot American Summer. It was the year I was in the best shape of my life. So far, hopeful. I don't know. But yeah.
I the only thing I've done was Alex from A Clockwork Orange. So yeah, I mean, the onus is on you, Borf. Trying to.
I
dig
also
into the
did
old-
Two-Face, but it was Dark Knight Two-Face. So.
Yeah.
Well,
Not
maybe I'll
pink
just have to
enough.
dress up as a can or something like that.
Just get a little string button.
I brought when I was Gene. I did have a little can that I brought with me. Yeah.
You'd have to. It'd be like I'm Linus, but I didn't bring my blanket. You know, like that. Nobody
So-
would know who you are.
Out of curiosity, did you guys ever go to camp? Did you have to go to a camp at
Not
any
a
point?
full summer, like 3-month camp. I went to like a week camp.
Yeah, mine was like Boy Scouts, so it was like a week or 2 weeks at most.
And this is something I was saying earlier. My girlfriend, she's a nanny. She used to nanny for a Jewish family, and in that family, like a full summer camp, like it was big. It was like a thing they did, and I think a lot of the people who made this movie are Jewish people, and I think that it is like a much bigger thing in the Jewish American community than it is in our shitty Christian community,
Protestant,
yeah,
lame ass shit.
Catholic or what have you.
I should ask Sarah and see if this is a story. Like she had to do Girl Scouts, and I remember that she hated it.
But they also note that pretty heavily in the movie. Like every time they announce campers' names, it's always like Herbert Goldstein, Robert Vine Kleinenstein. Like they make a big point of how Jewish every single name.
That she's clearly just making them up as she's
Yeah.
saying them. Janine Garoppolo is a pretty big get, but like that's a fun, it must be nice for her to just kind of pal around with kids and just like kind of let loose like that too.
Well, it's funny.
I
The
love
time
it.
period of this one's funny because it was a time period when Janine Garofalo was like a leading actress, like level. Like she could like open a movie, like they did. The Secret or the Truth About Cats and Dogs, I think, was another one that she did that was like a big hit. So yeah, I mean, you couldn't really imagine that now, but she opened a summer comedy. Yeah,
And
David
this was
Hyde.
also at the peak of Frasier.
Yeah, so David Hyde Pierce was like a huge person in this too. I really liked his performance in this. Like everything else, the writing for most of the other characters, I would say, is a little more telegraphed that a joke is coming. His character consistently says things that are sort of non sequenters that I didn't anticipate he would go there. Like when he gets asked what time it is and he just stares up at the sun because he can recognize it from that. It's an extremely strange,
There's a lot of
well-written
it-
part.
Wayne does this stuff too, because like you'll notice the right after when they get back into town after that ridiculous montage, and the joke is that like hey, it's nice to get out of camp even for an hour.
And that montage
but then
is so fucking good.
right, it's but after that, like they all run away from the truck and just stand in front of
against
the
the wall.
wall, just staring at the wall. Cut. That's it. And
Yeah,
and then
there's
that
a
one
line
scene
where a guy says, "Hey guys, wait up," and he runs off, and the camera pans slightly, and it shows the other two just stood against the wall, Blair Witch style, and he just joins them.
Yeah, that's it. And then cut, move to the next scene. Like it's that kind of like on the edge of strangeness that I always associate kind of Wayne is. There's like this there's this reality of the movie, but then there's this edges of reality to the movie, you know, that you kind of get burrowed into. And some of it I think is more or less just to sort of hide practical uses, like that one scene where it's Paul Rudd and JJ sitting on the dock, and JJ just like stands up, walks to the edge of the dock, and just flops into the water, and then it cuts back to Elizabeth Banks being in there. I'm like, they just didn't have enough time or space to have a reason for JJ to leave, so they just fucking flop, just walk into the water, and that'll be it. That's the end of the scene. You can go home.
Another great example for me is the scene where Jeannie Garofalo and I think I always forget the actor's name, but the guy who plays Jean's sort of assistant chef.
Gary. 80 Miles is the actor, but
that's
Gary's the character.
They know that Victor is not at the Devil's Rapids or whatever they're called, and they have a phone call coming in, and they have to find where the phone call is coming from. So they run to the nurse's office where the only other phone is, and Janeane Garofalo, like the whole sequence is like them freaking out, but take it up to the highest degree. Like she runs in, there's a little child with the nurse there, and they're like, the phone, where's the fucking phone? And they spend she tells them where it is, and they spend an excessive amount of time knocking over everything in the nurse's office. Actually, it's Neil. It's actually Neil in that scene.
Oh, okay. Is it Neil?
Yeah.
Okay, not Gary.
Yeah.
I that's what struck me kind of again with this movie, and maybe it's just because I'd seen the Netflix stuff previously, so it's been more recently than I had seen the original movie. But I think one of the great parts about this movie is that even though there is this barbed nature to this movie and a very edginess to it, it's quite tender. You know, it's not punching down all that much. Mm-hmm. It goes for gross out humor, but in weird ways, like the barbecue sauce thing, right? That's an easy but understandably unattractive way to look at it, but without being like just shit and fart humor. Like that was kind of fun to see that kind of humor and stuff. I mean, it's not that they're above it, because they very much aren't, but I don't know. I think that this movie they didn't take it up to the levels that it gets to in the Netflix shows.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the original DVD release had a commentary track that was the bonus farts track, which was no commentary. It's just they added farts in constantly throughout the movie.
But they even have fun with that in the post-production too, because like anytime anybody throws anything off, it just
such a good subtle joke. You'll never. I think that's a joke you don't notice your first time through. And I think a great sign of a good comedy is jokes you miss.
So could you just clarify what that joke is, just in case I missed it?
Every time something is thrown off screen, the exact same sound effect of a pot shattering is played. It's most noticeable early on when they introduce David Hyde Pierce's character. He throws like a trowel behind him, and it shatters, and a couple other things get thrown, or he falls or something, and you hear it like 3 times, the exact same shattering sound effect in that scene. And throughout the movie, they reuse it like a dozen times.
Weird. For some reason, I don't know. I somehow did not see or hear that, or didn't realize it while I was watching. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little slow.
It's so good. It's one of the things. Really funny. I didn't notice it the first couple times at least I saw the movie, but
I only noticed it this time, me watching it. I really didn't. And also because it kind of is just bombarding you with it, you do forget it after a time, because like one of the famous bits that always stands out to me is Paul Rudd's, when Janeane
So
Garofalo asks
good.
him to pick up something.
That
he
is
acts like,
that is a comic performance for the ages. Picking up the tray is
it's just so it's exactly like what a 2-year-old would act like when you're trying to tell them to do so. It's so
but
funny.
The cap off is the way that when he's actually done this incredibly simple task that he took so much umbrage at, he puts on his sunglasses and is like, "What?
We good?" Yeah, and it's that there. It's again, Borf was kind of talking about the meta awareness of this movie. The movie's aware that it's a movie. Everybody's in on the joke. But I kind of agree with you. It seemed like David Hyde Pierce was sort of kind of playing it straight. Like when he pops up to like do calculations.
Yeah, that's the role of his character.
Yeah. He's supposed to be the everybody.
And he's
plays the right note.
And there's like moments of genuine sweetness, like the way that when I don't know if this count, like, is it homophobic or is it straightforward? But like the gay sex scene is like very, very, very like there is like it's a very like it's a sex scene that is played totally straight.
Well, it's also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's the only sex scene that is shown in the film, correct?
Yep.
Correct.
So it's a Wet Hot American Summer. It's a sex comedy, and the only scene you really get is a gay sex scene, which I think is also pretty funny, considering the time this came out.
Right, and contrasting that to the way everybody in this fucking movie makes out. I mean, it is the most disgusting, amateurish, just like, everybody kisses like that. That's hilarious. But the Bradley Cooper, Michael Ian Black is kind of tender. It's a nice moment where, you can tell they're kind of stealing one.
Like, and the way they, like, he kicks the ball back even, and like all that stuff. It's like very...
Yeah, like straight out of like erotic fiction and shit, Yeah, like it's fucking wild. And yeah, I mean, for a pretty young Bradley Cooper to, a star is born indeed. Sorry, I've been waiting to make that joke.
The side note, just totally bizarre. This film kind of happened to me in real life to a degree because the Jane character, who was really intense, the guy who had survived the Vietnam War, I had that guy as a manager when I was working at a movie theater, and he would get the 1,000-yard stare, and all I'm doing is like picking up garbage and stuff like that at a movie theater, and he would occasionally come up and say the most insanely grim stuff I'd ever heard in my life, where he would relive something from his time in the Vietnam War and just tell me a story while I'm in the middle of cleaning up trash that would be way too intense for what I was doing. So this character in the movie, I met this guy in real life. That's the one thing I wanted to say. It's like this. It's incredibly awkward when you have that from an actual manager.
And they play it as awkward too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's. But the way he kind of like very much does a terrible job of covering it up wherever he says this crazy shit. It's funny and yeah, it's great that they had such a great time doing that because Christopher Meloni went on to work with David Wayne quite a bit, and David Wayne, I think like one of his best films is the biopic he made about the guy from National Lampoon. It's a movie on Netflix, Stupid Futile Gesture. I love that movie. I thought that movie was really, really good. It's that kind of David Wayne-ness of, like I said, it's aware that it's a movie and you're kind of, it's showing you a frame, but it's also showing you the frame that's within the frame as well. And that's probably, I think, his most successful attempt at it. But this movie is certainly a statement of that, in my opinion. I mean, this is where I think he perfected it. And I think partially is because like they were so constrained. It was so low budget. They had so little time. Everything was a fucking disaster. But they also had total freedom. They could have done whatever they wanted. Like nobody was going to tell them no other than money, time, and, their own taste. Because apparently Molly Shannon, the original concept of the Molly Shannon little kid relationship was going to be a little bit more, shall we say, physical. But they decided on set that, maybe not. Let's not. Wise choice. Wise choice.
Which is a wise choice, yeah. And it's really fun, like this super emotionally intelligent kid who ends up with, like, yeah.
It's funny how they play it. It's good. It's just enough to be like, this is ridiculous, not too much to be, oh god.
Here's why I love this. Part of why I love this so much. Like, even in this discussion, watched this a few days ago, like, I'm reminded of jokes that are so brief and one beat that I've already, like, kind of put them away, and they make me laugh when I think about them. So when you were talking about the Maloney character, like, the joke where when he comes out to give his big speech, he absolutely throws the door in fucking Amy Poehler's face, and all of her shit goes on the ground. It's like,
just eats it.
This is just, it's not a mean movie. Like,
No,
I think it has a lot of love for
Sure.
almost every character except for one or two. Andy has a fucking huge Confederate flag in his...
Right. Yeah, they do everything to make Andy like this gaping asshole, and they succeed. But again, Paul Rudd's so charming, you still kind of like him.
Yeah,
so
you can't help
works.
it. Like, you understand why. You understand
you
why.
understand Katie's decision at the end. Like, look, Michael Showalter, sure, you're a nice guy and all, but I mean, have you seen Paul Rudd? I ain't never gonna get bad Affleck.
It's also legitimate that she's 16. Like, why are they
I
making a
agree,
big deal
yeah.
out of the
See,
emotional
that's-
arc for the ages? It's dumb.
That also elevates it, right? I think that there's an aspect of this movie where there is not the same judgment that movies that it's spoofing would have on these characters. Like when she says that, when Katie says that, Coop doesn't like go crazy and be like, well, you're a self. He's just kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I think this movie understands, and the same thing with like the gay characters, or even Gene's PTSD, is like silly as it is. Like, there's affection for Gene. Like, he becomes a mentor after that. Like, I think this, like, they don't. I think a lot of those 80s comedies, those block party comedies, are so angry and hateful and like, well, shouldn't we laugh at this person? And it's like, I think this movie does a pretty good job of making you be like, no, these people are weird and we can laugh at their weirdness, but ultimately, like, we like them all. Like,
I mean, this was kind of a start of liberal comedy. Like, what you're talking about is the difference between, like, the other thing I would say is far more like Ronald Reagan era, like Police Academy. Very Ronald Reagan.
Mm-hmm. Maybe that gives
you're
extra
welcome.
creed. Yep,
yeah, like, I'm just saying, like, all the comedians on this, I can't imagine there'd be any, like, hard Republicans in this. Except
when
I've heard there is, like, one of the members of the state has become a little more Republican, but I'm not sure. Anyway.
Oh, you might be thinking of Mr. Show.
That's probably it.
Yeah, Jay Johnston from Mr. Show.
Well, there's that one. I thought somebody on this, but, it's so long ago, and it's something I saw on Twitter, and I don't remember quite right. Anyway, that's my thought, is this is liberal comedy and kind of where it went.
Jay Johnston from Mr. Show probably stormed the Capitol. Everybody else on Mr. Show is like, that guy's a fucking crazy asshole. Including Bob Odenkirk from Better Call Saul. I just think that it has a lot of compassion for people. I think that, like, yeah, it's a different... I think that a lot of 80s comedy is about, like, bullying and superiority and all this shit, and this was ahead of its time in, like, let's just be fucking ridiculous about ourselves.
I think,
but ultimately, at the end of the day, it's like, I'm proud to be who I
am. Gonna go smear mud on my ass anyway. And also, I think Blorf's got a good point about sort of where comedy was going after 2001, because I mean this is before September 11th, so I mean like everything got a little grim after September 2001. But before that, like I said, it was like American Pie, like it was those kind of comedies, Austin Powers, like those were the big movies.
I'll say this: I watched Austin.
The first
Powers
Austin
1.
Powers is okay. Yeah,
It's
first Austin
actually not
Powers,
bad.
I have no problem with it. I really don't have a problem with the first Austin Powers. Second and third one, on the other hand, you can take or leave. But still, comedy. That was more of an obvious spoof, right? That was more of like an obvious spoof of the '60s James Bond, British cinema in that era. Probably because Mike Myers only had that in cable television when he was living in Canada or whatever. But as far as movies are concerned, like this whole summer camp sort of vibe is pretty pastiche at this point in time. I mean, it's sort of had its day. There's not too many of that. American Pie, like I said, is the closest one I could think of.
And
then what happened after that? After that was, September 11th, but then there wasn't really that much big comedies or groundbreaking comedies.
It's one of the dead genre. Like there's these 80s comedy genres that are dead now, and it's like the summer camp film, beach party films, which are maybe a little older. Like ski films. There were like a lot of like those are dead as hell now.
The classic films about women's liberation in the field of car washes. Those are classic. Yeah.
There just aren't too many, like, I don't know, like nowadays it's easier to make them a horror movie. If we're just gonna scuttle away a bunch of teenagers in a summer camp, we'll just bring a monster and start slashing away at them. But I think Zach's got a point that like we don't have the genre of these kind of summer hideaway camps. I don't know what that looks like nowadays. I really don't.
Well, it's interesting you guys put it that way, because I've noticed the style of how they put this together, where it was an improv group and then they made a film kind of based around the improv characters. That's been done many times over the years in different things. I think around this time you also had, I think Broken Lizard came out with Super Troopers. So you had these concepts where you take like a ready going genre and then you throw your comedy people in and you come up with a bit about it. So in this case, they took the classic summer camp thing, kind of came out with that idea. Super Troopers was just doing like, let's just do police officers. The one thing that they both had in common was that the sets and the circumstance were actually pretty cheap to do, which is also why those comedies took off in the first place. But one of the things I saw recently that was weird is that, at least in LA, I saw a whole group of comedians that worked on a show that I was doing, and then later on I saw there was something called Blood-Sucking Freaks or something that was on, I think, Amazon, and it was advertised as a comedy horror thing. So I clicked on it because I recognized one of the people from The Image, and it was literally just that whole comedy troupe that had made an office comedy about vampires and all that stuff. So what had occurred to me is that offices and derelict office spaces keep being used by comedians in California, at least, to make movies that are somehow based in an office, where it'll be like, we're working on the office on the weekend and then a monster invades or something else happens. So it seems to me like most of the time they're just horror comedies now. They don't really just do comedies. They're always a horror comedy or somehow otherwise
I think
tied into genre.
Comedy has been like a big thing, and What We Do in the Shadows is an example of that, which is another great. I really love what We Do in the Shadows TV show and movie.
Both are great.
But and you know, like, this is at the time this came out, like I think, I don't know, spoofs as a concept, because I think this elevates itself a little above a traditional spoof, a Not Another Teen Movie or a Scary Movie or that kind of thing, because I think it has a little more pathos, but it dips its toe in, like, and I think it's smart about the way it does it. Like the scene where Michael Showalter's character gives a big speech to hype up the
baseball game.
the group of ragtag people who never thought they'd make it through one game, but they somehow came to the finals. And then the evil group arrives, and the entire team is like, seems a little cliche. Let's just call it off.
We've been done in this little trite.
And then the other coach, who is actually played by H. John Benjamin, who also plays the can of vegetables.
Did not know that. That is awesome.
Is like, yeah, I understand. And they just go home and don't play the game.
Fucking funny.
Yeah, that was Meatballs. That was the whole plot of Meatballs, if I remember correctly. Yep.
Meatballs 2 got a little weird, but
Yeah, I haven't seen Meatballs 2. I don't know anything about it.
but I do, Borif, I mean, give the Netflix show a try. I do kind of like the first day of camp.
I think there's a lot.
There's a lot in there
different-
that you'll like.
How different is the comedy? Because you guys are saying it was a little different
Not
than
very
this.
different at all.
Not different?
No,
Okay.
no, it's the same comedy.
It's the same comedy.
You know, they have more time to fill. I don't think it's like jokes per minute is good, but I think it's still good.
Okay.
There's a lot of build-up, and that's sort of done on purpose. And again, much like this movie, some of the build-up goes nowhere, or is wrapped up very quickly.
And
you know,
there's
like
some
the
really-
rescuing Victor rescuing the kids from the raft is literally just like him looking off camera and describing what's happening off camera, and then it just like cuts to them like, oh, thank God we did it. You know, like that's it's
And
it's a
then
lot
they do like an
that,
80s
you know?
show, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
next time you're driving.
I'll try
It's
that.
like
I'll
a-
try it.
But no, yeah, and there's some like they get most people back in some regards. Like I think Bradley Cooper is in the first of the 2 seasons.
Yeah.
David Hyde Pierce is like
In
mostly
both, but he-
cameos.
yeah.
He has an extremely good cameo in the 10 Years Later one that I
Yeah.
really like.
It's very funny. It's
Oh
very
my
much
God.
Like, it's so good. 'Cause
So
he
here's-
just basically is just like over the phone, right? Over like a video phone. And David Hyde Pierce, like once he's done, like takes off the bus and says, okay, we got what we need. We good.
But he also, it's over his Zoom call, and there's like 5 Emmys in the background.
I'll give it a shot.
But yeah.
I
But that
almost
reminded
started
me of
watching it
another
once I was done.
thing. Like again, this movie is like, I don't know. It's hard to discuss it because to me, the biggest thing about this movie is it's so fucking funny constantly. That reminded me of another throwaway joke. Takes 3 seconds, and it's so goddamn funny. Where the end of the movie, where it's the morning after the big day, and David Hyde Pierce runs up to Janine Garofalo, and he's like, "It finally happened! I got the Hodgkins Award," and it's the shittiest trophy you would buy at any store. It's like a soccer trophy.
I know. I like that he just
And then he hands it off to
somebody
somebody off screen.
That's it. You know, like, because Mel Brooks did that shit all the time, and I always thought it was really funny when he did it. Like, Spaceballs, they have to watch Spaceballs, the movie, to figure out where Lone Star is. Sometimes it can get annoying. Like I said, I think the Deadpool level kind of gets annoying to me. But, you know, like, when you think about, like, also kind of the era I grew up with like Nickelodeon, you had like Pete and Pete, and, like Clarissa Explains It All and stuff. So I was used to reality being like almost a fungible thing just for the sake of comedy or storytelling. So this movie kind of, again, once I got to college and got a little bit more sophisticated, film school, I got this movie and it was, I never looked back. But the first time I watched it, it was like, me and my buddies, we were like, I don't know, it was fucking freshmen or some shit. I didn't quite latch on to me as much as it should
And
have.
I think there's a lot of people for whom this is not.
Yeah, this is not for everybody. Yeah,
I liked it okay. I remember this one came out in 2001, and it was the belle of the ball on IFC the summer it came out. So it was one of these things that got advertised to me through IFC almost nonstop. However, I wouldn't hear about it at all from any of the other channels. Like, it didn't get any press release anywhere else. So I think that's why it kind of like did what it did when it came out at the box office and it bombed. But I do remember that it got played non-stop about a year later on IFC, where they just kept playing it, and I think that might be one of the spots where it first caught and became, sort of viral and popular beyond that, where people started approaching it as a cult film and getting into it. But yeah, it's
not the widest
classic
release, I'm imagining, for this movie. So yeah, that's when you have a movie. Movies like this need time. They have to sit in a vault and sort of grow on their own accord. The beauty about it is it doesn't cost that much to fucking make. But it takes a minute to get that money back a lot.
It's
and show business finances just don't work like that.
I mean, it's worth noting, for example, one of the most hateful, angry, negative reviews maybe that Roger Ebert ever gave was for this movie.
Hilarious.
Which he did in the form of the song Hello Mutta, Hello Fada, that song about a person writing from summer camp. Yeah, just a whole fake set of lyrics about how this movie is absolute trash. Gave it 1 star, lowest score he could possibly give it. Hated.
If I'm David Wayne, I'm framing that. It's like you're making this movie to piss off critics, to baffle them, to be like, what? Why? Why are you doing that? It's not meant to be traditional. It's meant to be. It starts you out traditional, but you're leaning into that punch, and you're gonna take that ride, and then before you know it, you're in a heroin den. That's how this movie's gonna go.
It's Gen X comedy. It's self-aware comedy. People were not really ready for that when it came out in 2001. People were still expecting it to all be like There's Something About Mary, where if somebody says a thing, they just make it happen in real life, and it might have comedic outcomes, but they don't ever they don't neg the bit at any point. This is pretty much a consistent yes and. There's no one who ever comes in and says like, this is nonsense, stop the movie, stop having fun. They just kind of keep going with the joke wherever it leads them, and they have a good time with it. And I kind of think that's a better way to make a movie than
I agree.
The other
that's
alternatives.
In many ways, there's a lot to say about this movie in that it's a satire and it's earnest and all these things, but at the end of the day, the thing about this movie is its main goal is to be as funny as fucking possible, and I think it does an admirable job. And I also think it has a side goal where the sensibilities of these people, it's a kind of comedy that is not angry and not hateful. It's just silly and fun, and you can watch it and just have a fucking good time. A lot of comedy can be very angry and judgmental or superior, I guess. And this is not Whitney Cummings doing this whole aren't I controversial? This movie doesn't give a fuck if it's controversial.
Right.
Yeah. It's just trying to tell some fucking jokes.
Right. And like I said, I'm surprised considering the era how tame it is. Considering. I mean, how, and especially the later shows, but it's pretty tame. It's not that. I guess we can get on to final thoughts since we're
I want to add an addendum. Final thoughts. What's your favorite joke in this movie? Include it in your final thoughts.
Okay, all right, I can do that. I'll go first because this is quite easy for me because I laugh about it every time I think about it. So I agree with pretty much everything Zach said. I think I prefer my comedies to be a little bit more black-hearted in some respects, but not when you're dealing with this subject matter of a children's summer camp and the misadventures of those counselors. You gotta need that kind of warm and fuzzy, amiable quality to it, I think, to make the jokes really land. Because, if everybody was just monsters to these kids all the time, what Andy does to all the swimmers wouldn't be as funny. So I think that there's a purpose for having kind of a soft heart around this movie, which I think is to its benefit. And again, it's not mean-spirited. None of the jokes are necessarily mean-spirited in any way. They're just zany and out there. They're just so fucking weird. So that's why, I've got to go with one of the I mean, it really is just like when they're all sitting around and they're just like trying to arrange the time. Like, well, why don't we get here at 9? Well, why don't we say 9:30? Why don't we say 9 and then everyone will get here by 9:30? No, but we're going to be in our late 20s by then. We're going to have our stuff together. Like, they all kind of, with just breezing by it, every person in that frame is at least 26 or 20 to 28 years old. And that's got to be one of my favorite jokes. But another one of my favorite jokes, and it's such a weird joke, is Victor crashing the car. Because he's just singing along to a song, and then just, ah! And then out of nothing, and then next thing you see is just the van crashing to a tree. That's it. That's the crash. That's hilarious. So, yeah. Well done. It is definitely a classic. I would call this, if this is going to be my generation's Animal House, then so be it. And it's way better than Animal House anyway. So, yeah, I think that you get these movies every now and then, and I'm glad that my generation got this one. So, booyah.
Yeah, I guess I'll just dive into it. I enjoyed this film a whole lot. I've always liked it. I remembered when it came out that it was sort of one of those fun movies where I discovered it because IFC was playing it at me and none of my friends knew about it. I wound up watching it on a VHS tape and had no one to show it to for years and years and years until finally I found myself at film school, and then everybody suddenly knew this movie, and I was like, oh, so it's my people. Yeah,
that's what happened to me. Yep.
So yeah, I think this one's good. I would advise anyone to see it, and my favorite line from this, I mentioned it earlier, just because of how inane and dumb and kind of deep the concept of the joke was, would be when the astrophysicist, played by David Hyde Pierce, is asked what time it is, and rather than looking at his watch, he stares at the sky because he's able to pinpoint what time of day it is based off the position of the sun in the sky. That joke was so well constructed, and it was so inane and out of nowhere when it happens that it made me laugh, and I've always remembered that joke as being extremely, extremely on point. So yeah.
I've got to change my joke, Rude. I figured it out what my favorite. It's when after Gene trains Michael Showalter to be like cool, and when he walks in dressed exactly like Gene, like everyone's like, you know, Elizabeth Banks like kind of ogles at him, and even Paul Rudd is like, what? You know,
amazing double take. An amazing double take from Paul Rudd. Yeah, I really love this movie. It's like a cozy blanket to me. I really enjoy watching it. I could watch it again tonight. Like, genuinely, I could. I don't know. I mean, I think it is just funny and fun and enjoyable and in the most comfortable, fun, positive, like it, and it's ahead of its time, and I think its time, like, I think it's going to age super well. Like, honestly, I don't even, like, a comedy is changeable and over time, but, like, I just don't see this becoming, like, a problematic, like, oh, well, that was when it was. Like, it was, they were doing what they were trying to do at a time when it wasn't popular, and I think it shows that this is just an earnest comedy. I guess I'll quickly few things because I just want to mention these jokes because they're so great. The going into town sequence we didn't talk about. Oh my god, it's so funny. Them going through all these stages of crime and depravity. Unbelievable.
Janeane Garofalo punching the old lady in the stomach and stealing her purse. It's so funny.
The romantic sequence where Coop gives her his flannel and then she gives him his coat and then he asks for his flannel back because it's his favorite flannel. There's so many great lines. One of my favorite throwaway lines is when David Hyde Pierce teaches the kids some astrophysicist fact, and he was like, it's something you could say you could like tell people, and the kid is like, well, when should we tell people? And he says, dinner, literally any time. And I don't know why that line makes me laugh, but he has one example. He just says, literally, I love. Fuck. I even love the first line of this movie, which is Janine Garofalo. All the kids are running back from making out at different bunks. And she's sitting there at 6 a.m. with a cigarette and another counselor. And she says half-heartedly, "You're supposed to be in your bunks. You're in trouble." I don't know. This movie,
it sets the tone.
It's so great. I just love it. Yeah, I can't help it. I unfortunately gave myself a ringer because I love it. I just spent the whole time. I don't know if you guys are gonna like it as much, but it's gonna be hard.
I liked it. It's a nice, solid summer fair movie. I think it's gonna be a good time.
Sure.
It's gonna be hard to follow up since it is obviously one of your favorites. I doubt either me or Carlson are going to be able to grab one that will be higher on your list of favorite movies, but we can always try. Do we want me to just give the next one, or what do you want to do?
Let me we can do that really quick.
We didn't do
just
any
real
points.
Quick.
We didn't even think about it.
Points, so everybody still has 10 points. So yes, that was Wet Hot American Summer.
You know what? I'm going to give out a bonus point to each of you because I'm proud of who you are.
Alrighty. We get 2 pride points from Zach Powers, just for fun. Okay, so that means Chris Borf has 11 points, I have 11 points, and Zach, you have 10 points. Zach, I would give you points, but you just get points all the time. You'll get them eventually.
Sure.
Okay, so that leads us with movie number 2 of our Dog Days of Summer theme, and the movie Trap Russian Roulette has spin towards Borov. So what have you got?
So, when you said summer movie, there are a couple obvious ones. One of the ones that I was very tempted to do, because whenever I hear summer, is a big action movie. So I was very tempted to suggest Prey, which is separately a surprisingly okay movie. I actually would suggest that one separately from all this. It's actually fun. It's the best sequel to the Predator film since the first one.
It.
Okay, good.
I've already seen it too.
Okay.
It fucking rocks.
Well, yeah, it's good. So I'm not going to pick that one. Instead, I'm going to pick something obvious, which is something I haven't seen. I think we can all say that there are many things that I haven't seen that I should have seen by now.
Okay.
It's a film that is quoted at me nonstop, and I can't stand it being quoted at me because I've never seen the movie, so I always know of it only through lines. Dazed and Confused, 1993, summer. Never seen it.
Okay.
Always meant to see it. It has always hit me as a stoner weed comedy, and when it came out, I was very young in Indiana and very inexperienced in Indiana, and I didn't find anything interesting about it. However, being that I'm an old man now and I live in the coast where there is marijuana, I assume there's probably something in this movie intended for me now. So I want to see it, and I hope you guys enjoy it too.
I have not seen this movie in a minute, so yeah, this will be interesting. So yeah, I'm not even sure if I remember when or how I saw it, but I know I've seen it. All right, well, that brings us to the conclusion of this episode. I just want to say that this whole production sucked dick. So, but welcome anyway. Anyway, thanks for joining us. I have been Russell Carlson, director / choreographer. This has been my producer / writer, Chris Borf.
I like to fondle sweaters.
And I also want a big shout out for Zach for doing a fun movie, and a quotable movie that we've had lots of giggles on today. Zach Powers.
Oh my God, he's doing it! He's actually doing it!
Oh God, it's so corny and great. Alrighty, well, thank you so much for joining us, and join us next time for Dazed and Confused. And as we always say here on the Movie Trap, Diane Ladd is too young to play Chevy Chase's mom. It's true. You heard it here. See ya.
Andy, are you gonna clean that up?
Oh, yeah.
I will. I don't have time right now.
Clean it up and come to my office for the meeting.
I gotta